Okay, today is uh, today is Saturday, February 23rd, 2013. Another notation. I should note all the time I've been saying that Mike Sadler made a mistake, and I'm going to explain the mistake that he made. For a good 40 years or 30 years or 20 years, whenever corporate put out that manual for all supervisor and management to follow, the fact is that Mike Sadler posted a document in there that if you if you clock in late, you intend to falsify documents. Now, the handbook says another thing, okay? It has a no-fault attendance policy that they've had for 40, 30, or 20 years whenever they instituted that manual when you get hired to follow and for them to enforce it, okay? Now, they didn't give the supervisor or management to change the way corporate handles things. When they put down a manual and they send it down to all the Safeway stores and distribution centers, they're to follow that manual. They're not to try to change what corporate puts down. They don't have the authority to do that. Okay, so when Mike Sadler posted that document, he's changing the way corporate sends the information down or the corporate manual down for the managers and supervisors to follow, not to try to change it. Okay, when he posted that, he changed it. Because he changed it was no fault attendance policy for the truck drivers only. Okay, that's a changing the way they do things, okay? They have one standard that fits all, and it needs to be followed. And Mike Sadler didn't follow it. He tried to change the way the manual says things are to be done, and he doesn't have the authority to do so. Okay, I repeated myself only because I have a hearing problem and I can't hear myself. So, okay, so the mistake was done by Mike Sadler. There's no doubt about it. There's a no-fault attendance policy, and I was wrote up, so were 400 other truck drivers wrote up, okay, for no-fault attendance policy. For not punching in on time on that second time clock. Okay, that's the policy. That's corporate policy. Now, Mike Sadler tried to change that by making a posting on the bulletin board, but he didn't change it in the manual that's handed to the truck drivers when they're hired, stating the fact that things have been changed. He didn't say it when he posted it. He didn't say it at all. He just posted it and took action against the truck drivers. Now, that being said, I didn't do anything wrong. And then Mike Sadler, in other words, is giving permission to the dispatcher to falsify documents when the onboard automatic recording device is tamper-proof and they're the only ones that have a key. They're the only ones that can change anything. So there's repercussions by his action by posting that document. So the drivers are innocent. So if any drivers have been fired because of that document, they're innocent. They shouldn't have been discharged. Okay, because that's a manual that was put down by corporate. Now I'm assuming all this. I stand to be corrected, but I know I'm innocent. There's no doubt about it. I'm really innocent. Okay, it's not my fault Mike Sadler put that down there and changing the way corporate does business. Now, I'm innocent, okay? He needs to stand up and admit his mistake and put me back to work and give me all my back pay and benefits and my lifetime medical that I don't pay no premium when I retire. Now, I didn't do anything wrong. Now, why they singled me out, I'm assuming that's what they did. Why they falsified my documents and then make accusations that I falsified the document and sent me straight home. And not taking care of the fact that I had a hearing impairment, which it should have been taken care of in 2006, according to the legal document that I had a hearing problem since 2006. Now the damage is done. There isn't anything that can be done about it. Can't take it back or anything else. So the legal document, I have that in my presence. So let's get back to the to the document that was posted on the driver's room in the bulletin board. Now, they made a mistake. They need to put me back to work, and corporate needs to deal with it. Now I tend to be corrected. If corporate changed it and said that if you punch in late on the second time clock, that you intend to falsify laws, which is not possible in any way. Okay? And there's no way you could punch in late if you have a no-fault attendance policy. So, you know what? You need to be disciplined by the no-fault attendance policy. They need to give me a verbal warning. They didn't even give me a verbal warning that I was going to be fired. They never even sent me registered mail that they intend to fire me. I didn't receive any documents whatsoever, or the union by registered mail. I should note, registered mail. They did not do that. They did not comply. Okay, and Mike Sadler did not comply with corporate when they sent that hand manual down when they hire people to follow company policy, the corporate manual, okay? And now I could be wrong. You know, I stand to be corrected, but that's what it seems to me. Like I said, they need to pay all attorney's fees and expenses if this goes to trial, because I'm asking for that. And I invoke double standards. Life is not fair because I'm not being judged, or justice isn't being served like everybody else is being treated. I'm being treated indifferent because of my hearing problem, and because I have a permanent disability, and because I received a notice of offer of work on December 1st. Okay, and when, like I said before, on December 7, 2010, they made false accusation and flat out sent me home. Okay, they need to honor and comply with the notice of offer of work. Now, my attorney sent me to report to work immediately, according to a letter that was sent by Safeway Insurance Company in Arizona. Okay, that I was offered work for 1 year. Okay, now they didn't comply. They didn't comply November 1st. They didn't comply with the union contractual procedures. They didn't comply with workman's comp when the administrative judge suggested to the attorneys, and they had Safeway on the phone to put me back to work, and Adam Stewart asked me how long I could work for and have a witness, and they sent me to the lunchroom and flat out sent me home. So it's about 2 or 3 times they just flat out sent me home. They just didn't comply. Even if the administrative judge suggested to put me back to work, my attorney at Modesto Legal Clinic said to put me back to work, sent the letter, and for me to report, I did. They denied it, so did the union. So they're not complying. They're just not doing it. They're just not going to do it. Why, I don't know, even though that Mike Sadler made a mistake. They're wrong. They're guilty. They don't have a leg to stand on, and I don't know why they're doing this, but it doesn't matter. The fact is I'm innocent, and I can't obtain employment because of the said actions. And so I need to get my back pay from December 7, 2010, and the fact that he took my logs or trip sheet or whatever and they disappeared, that's a no-no. Those logs or those documents are federal property until they're inspected, and they got to hold them for 6 months. And the fact what he did on December 6, 2010, taking the time from the second time clock, like I said before, and altering those documents, that's a no-no. You know, it's all because of the posting in 2010 or 2009, whenever he posted. I don't know. I don't remember it, okay? But it said that he did it, and they're assuming that I knew about it. But whatever it is, it's okay. There's not a problem with that. The problem is I received a notice of offer of work, and they didn't comply. That's the bottom line. They did not comply, okay? Now, the Modesto Legal Clinic is having a hard time because I should have been back to work on it right now, and they're working on it. But the fact is, they shouldn't be doing that to that attorney, because the attorney sent them a letter saying, report this guy back to work. So obviously there was an agreement made with the insurance company to put me back to work, set aside the discharge because of the fact of the time limits. And they didn't produce any evidence or documents that I was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. In fact, they just didn't do anything. They didn't comply. So, you know what? I'm thankful for the Modesto Legal Clinic for taking my case and the fact that having me report to work. And I'm sorry about the fact that I'm not sorry, but Safeway should have put me back to work because the attorney sent them a letter. Gave me a letter to report to work. I did. So they should have known about it. So there shouldn't be any excuses. So the fact that they're working hard and spending all this money and time and effort and getting me back to work, so I, Julio Zamora, request that all attorney's fees and expenses be paid by Safeway for the fact that they refuse to comply since December 7, 2010. They refuse to comply, okay? They refuse to comply with the contract and contractual procedure because 1,500 Teamsters are if it's not within 10 days, are put back to work immediately. Or if it doesn't, or if it's not in the Board of Adjustments within 30 days from the date of incident that happened or the date the discharge was served or whatever it is, it has to go to the Board of Adjustments automatically. You can't change anything in the contract. No one has the authority to do so. So again, they did not comply. James Williams, the transportation manager, knows this. He knows everything. He should have complied. And he was notified. He was notified, okay? And now, they were all notified, so there's no excuse. They need to put me back to work. Now, it's going on 3 years. And I admit that it's a lot of money. Back pay, pension, RSVP, everything, and penalties and interest. And I understand that, but it's not my fault. It's not my fault. I'm innocent. Okay? So Mike Sadler made the mistake. We know where the error is. He needs to stand up and admit his mistake. A corporate put down that manual. He had no business changing it by doing that posting. Okay, and now I know I'm having a hardship right now, and it's affecting my family and my children and the university. So in the name of Jesus Christ, let's get this case over with and get me back to work. So I'm going to make this recording and send it to my attorney, and hope that he requests that attorney's fees and all expenses be paid by Safeway due to the fact that Mike Sadler didn't follow corporate instructions when they handed down the manual when they hired new employees. He tried to change it the way corporate does, the way they do things. He's not allowed to do that. He doesn't have the authority. Okay, so there's your mistake. And I stand to be corrected. I don't know anything about what management or supervisor are their responsibilities, but I do know one thing for sure, that the dispatcher has the responsibility to know the Department of Transportation regulation. And when he posted that notice on the bulletin board, it was his responsibility to discuss that matter with Mike Sadler and bring it to his attention. That if he didn't change the time on them logs, there would have been no problem for the fact that I would have had 10 hours off from my tractor. No doubt about it. There was no, and there's no way I could possibly falsify anything unless he changes the time on them logs. Now the question is, was he instructed to do that? So he needed to discuss the situation with Mike Sadler and for them to come to an agreement of some kind. But he should have discussed it because that's his superior. Okay? And then if Mike Sadler agreed with him, it's obviously that the dispatcher and Mike Sadler agreed because they sent me home. That was a mistake. And they work first, grieve later. I'm just rattling on here. So that's my motion. I request that Safeway pay all attorney's fees and expenses due to the fact that they did not comply from day one, December 7, 2010. And December 6, 2010, the dispatcher didn't comply either, and Mike Sadler agreed with the dispatcher to falsify my documents and accuse me, make false accusations that I intended to falsify documents, which is impossible. The machine is tamper-proof, and you have to have a key to do so. So, that's my statement. And I got to admit, I feel sorry for workman's comp, and I feel sorry for my attorney. They must be getting a headache over this thing. It's ridiculous. Why would you give somebody a notice of offer of work guaranteed for 1 year if you're not going to keep your word, your agreement? It's obvious they're in violation of 132A. Or why make such an agreement? So, that's my statement. End of notation.